Nagi Seishiro is someone who has caught the eye of many Blue Lock fans since his debut in both the manga and anime, one of the reasons being his innate and raw talent for football. However, as of the recent chapters of the Blue Lock Manga, Nagi's form has been on a steady decline. But why is that? Stay tuned as I'll cover Nagi's character and explain the downfall of Nagi Seishiro. When Nagi was first introduced in the early stages of the series, he has shown he has the innate skill to rival even the best players in Blue Lock. And that says a lot considering he's only been playing football for roughly 6 months before being called for the Blue Lock program. And even upon entering the Blue Lock, he was one of the best players in the first selection, being the joint top goal scorer with Baro in the 5th stratum. While it would take some time to go over every single match he played in the Blue Lock, I wanted to talk about 2 matches that would prove to be very important when we want to predict the future of Nagi's character. Those matches being the match against Team Z in the first selection and the match against Bastard Munich in the Neo-Egoist League. Now for the match against Team Z. I don't want to go over the entire match because it was pretty long, spanning more than 10 chapters, but I want to cover the pivotal points of this match, that being Nagi's awakening in chapter 32. In this chapter, Team Z have successfully caught up to Team V and are in control of the entire match. Rail, being the brains of the team, is stuck in a situation not knowing what to do. And in this situation, Nagi does something he hasn't ever done since he started playing football. That being, he moved on his own. Normally, Nagi doesn't make any moves or run, except he's told to by either Rail or Zantetsu, meaning if the opposition stopped his senders, it would stop Nagi as well. But this time, Nagi made a run. This time, he was the sender, as he asked Rail for the ball rather than waiting for it. And when he got the ball, he destroyed the entire Team Z defense with a few dribbles and a quick pass to Zantetsu and scored the Team ZV's 4th goal. Now, the reason why this goal was so important is due to the fact that this was the first time Nagi ever kick-started and created a goal for himself. Normally, he would wait and receive the ball, then score, which isn't wrong. But remember, what really makes you a pro striker is when you're able to create goals from nothing, which Nagi should, proving that Nagi is at his best when he decides to create his own goals, and this goal sparked his curiosity for football, something that would be essential for him to obtain his ego. Mind you, before this match, Nagi never had any strong desire to play football or anything, meaning there weren't any stakes for him, and that limited his potential. But this defeat was something that forced Nagi to always win. Now, for the match that would drastically affect Nagi's development was the match against Bastard Munich. Now, remember how last time Nagi only awakened his true abilities when he was allowed to think for himself? Well, this time, it's the exact opposite. But first, we get a quick flashback of Nagi joining Manshine City and meeting Chris Prince, the master and coach of this team. He was asked an important question: what's his ideal soccer style? Which more or less translates to what type of football does he want to play. But then Nagi simply replies that he wants to beat Isagi, which isn't wrong. But this goal of his to beat Isagi is flawed in the sense that it limits him. Now, wanting to beat Isagi is not a bad goal he set for himself. But the question I would like to ask is, what would he do if he beats Isagi? What's next after that? Assuming he beats Isagi, which he did, then that's it. In his own world, he's completed his goal, meaning there's no need for him to work harder anymore or for him to advance, which mentally limits his growth. A great comparison would be with Isagi. Isagi had set a goal for himself to conquer Kaiser, which is good, but this isn't his greatest desire. Beating Kaiser is more or less a building block to eventually achieve his greater goal, that being to become the best striker in the world. A dream that Nagi doesn't share, as he even stated it himself that he hasn't thought about becoming the best player in the world. Anyways, let's continue back to the same flashback. So Prince talks about how Nagi has good innate ability for handling and controlling the ball, but where he falls short is his creativity. Nagi lacks the sense to create his own goals, but to solve this, Agi works with Nagi to help him become more creative, which in turn helps him create more goals. Though this wasn't the case at start, as it didn't create many goals. It did create many opportunities, but it didn't really give many goals. But that was to be expected, as this was a new play style Nagi had to adapt to. This, and if given enough time, would have made him a horrible opponent to play against. But then something happened that would prove to be a decline in Nagi's development in the future. Instead of sticking to his plan that at some point would surely prove to be very fruitful for Nagi, Nagi instead decided to revert back to his old ways of depending on passes from Reo. While he did end up helping them score 2 or so goals, but that would only prove to be a circumstantial victory, as Nagi had finally achieved his goal of beating Isagi, meaning he had lost his desire to play football as passionately as he once did. Even still, their efforts wouldn't prove to be of much use, as they would still lose to Bastard Munich. Now that we've looked at all of these pivotal points in Nagi's character, let's take a look at a more recent chapter of the manga, that being the match against the Ubers where they lost 3-1. And it showed us just how much Nagi and Rei have stumped in growth, as they both put up very lackluster performances, with Agi even wanting them to stop their strike partnership, as it would prove to be very disadvantageous to both of them. Then we pan to Nagi, who asks Baro why he plays football so intensely, with Baro replying to Nagi, to become the best in the world. Then Nagi asks, what would he do after that? And Baro simply replies saying that he would rule this new era of football as the king. Nagi ponders upon Baro's words, but then that is when Baro speaks up and says that Nagi has lost the hunger he once had to become stronger, and now all he's doing is playing some sort of half-assed football, which is true, as it does line up with the Bastard Munich match I talked about earlier. Once again, we pan to Manchester City against PSG, where they lost 3-2. Now the question at hand would be, how would Nagi hope to better his performances or become a better player? But the answer to that question is way harder than you think. Some might say he should go back to creating his own chances like he did with Agi, but that wouldn't work for one reason alone: he lacks the desire to advance. Nagi no longer has the goal to which he works hard to achieve, meaning he can't develop. The only way Nagi can hope to become better than his current self is to find a good enough reason for him to play football as passionately as he once did. Anyways, you've made it to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I try my best to upload more anime and manga videos, so if you find that interesting, consider subscribing. And with that, thanks for watching the video. Till next time.